All right, so I'm Michael Howe, the Government Affairs Director with the Central Washington Home Builders Association, here with State Representative Cary Condotta in our beautiful downtown Wenatchee office for the second edition of this new program, Open Mic. So thanks for joining us today, Cary.
Glad to be here.
And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today is because we work together at a housing forum in the city of Chelan talking about affordable housing and attainable housing. And you had mentioned there that the legislature had tried a couple things, maybe passed a bill or two, but haven't really done enough. I was hoping maybe you could tell us what's happened at the legislature to address this important issue, because it's an issue throughout our entire region, not just this district.
It really is. It's become the largest problem probably in the state and just came out of nowhere, it seems like, because 5 years ago, this wouldn't have been considered a big issue. But now, with the cost of rents and the cost of homes being what they are, it has become a critical issue, and particularly for the smaller towns like Leavenworth, where they have a hard time hiring people because there's no housing and there's no affordable housing. So we started looking at this the last couple of years, but frankly, the state hasn't done a whole lot. We've got more work to do. The cost of building is too high. The regulatory environment is too deep. And the main thing we need here in this area is multifamily.
Right.
And nobody wants to build multifamily here. The few people that have done it aren't that excited about it. It's a lot more hassle, a lot more trouble to do it. And they're doing better with the single home. So it's a real problem, and it's all about inventory. It's all about the amount of availability.
Right.
If you want to reduce the price of homes, just increase availability. It's basic economics. And then you get into the land use issues and the Growth Management Act and those things. And we're so limited on land here, particularly in Wenatchee Valley, that we need some exceptions to that to be able to move outside the growth boundary and do some things. And that's what I was working on this year. But boy, anytime you try to touch the Growth Management Act in Olympia, it's very tough to crack that nut.
Right. So are these more local issues or state issues? Because I know that we at the Central Washington Home Builders Association, we're involved with Our Valley, Our Future, and a housing group there that's looking at issues. And of course, I was at the meeting in Chelan talking about the same thing. But are these more local or state, or a combination of issues?
It's a combination. I think everybody has to work together on this. The local issues have to do with land use and those kind of things and local regulations. But on the state level, we've made it extremely difficult to build homes, extremely expensive. You can go in other parts of the United States and see how much less it is to do these things. So I think it's a combination of both. The state needs to do some things. The local folks have to do some things. But it's getting real critical. We've got a lot of opportunity here in the Valley, and they come here for a job or come here for an interview and look around, and they can't afford to live here.
Right.
And again, this really is having tremendous effect on Chelan and Leavenworth, two tourist attractions where there's a lot of maybe not real high-paying jobs, but a lot of jobs anyway, and nowhere to put these people.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Even with the migrant workers, I mean that's a challenge as well. I mean, we have some places that are building
farm worker.
Yeah.
That's been a challenge because again of the regulations. It used to be a lot easier, and now the requirements are so much higher that. And that's certainly has to be addressed. There's no question. The ag industry is having some issues with immigration, obviously, right now with all the hullabaloo and immigration. But then you back it up with a problem on housing.
Right. So is this like a number of hotbed issues? Is this an east versus west issue in the state, or is it just a statewide issue?
No, I think you're seeing this problem. Remember, obviously, Seattle's got issues with housing, and they're doing some crazy things like head taxes and things, which won't
that seems smart.
It's not going to solve the problem. But I think it's universal. It's across the board. But the difference is that the rural areas, the rural legislators, will look at ideas like changing the Growth Management Act or making exceptions to it, where your downtown legislators don't like that idea. They like the planning. They like it to be tight. And frankly, a lot of the folks over on that side don't think we should have growth over here. They don't think we should be building out here. They would like everything in the cities, and they'd like to shut down everything outside of the cities. So there's that conflict that's going on between the environmental folks, the extreme environmental folks, and the rural communities that do want to grow. Yeah, do want to expand.
It's amazing how prevalent this issue is. I mean, all throughout our territory, Yakima, Ellensburg, I mean, Clay Ellen, Wenatchee, like you said, Leavenworth, Chelan. It's just systematic. It's all over. What can an association like us do to help?
Well, I think you have to put some pressure on the state, and you have to. In this meeting we had the other day in Chelan was good because we heard from builders. That's what
Right.
the reason I was there is I wanted to hear directly from the front lines why we're not building multifamily, why we're not building more housing, why we're not building more lower priced housing, land availability. What do they think of that? So I think that's the best thing you can do is bring it to light, bring us a slate of issues that could change that could make it more feasible to expand the inventory, because it comes down to the inventory.
Right.
You got a state that's growing quite well thanks to those legacy companies in Seattle, and the Seattle real estate market is driving all the other markets
Right.
outside of Seattle. So we've got to address this soon. It's going to get worse before it gets better, and I hope you guys are at the table and bringing us some positive ideas about how we can do that.
Okay. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. It was an important legislative session. You guys fixed Hearst. You guys
Terrific.
have McCleary behind you.
Yeah, we hope.
We
hope.
You hope.
Yeah.
Exactly. What's I mean, with those behind you, are there new issues going forward? I know you're not running again, but just looking forward,
Well, I'm certainly not done with politics. I'm just going to shift gears. Let's just say that I'll still be involved in many ways, but frankly, I think the next big issue it's going to be like another McCleary is the counties. The counties are in a world of hurt because the state keeps putting regulations and new work on them without paying for it. And the state has neglected the counties as they are an agency of the state. They've done exactly to the counties what they did to the schools, which was force everything into local taxation.
Right.
So we're not going to pay for that. We're not going to pay for that. We want you to do all this. We're not going to pay for it, but we'll give you the taxing authority to do it locally. And this is reaching critical mass. So I think the counties as a whole are at a point of probably filing a McCleary type suit, which could be billions of dollars. It could be even bigger than McCleary. So that's the next big one. And then this housing issue. I mean, these are the two things that I think really have to be worked on. But they kind of go hand in hand because the counties can't do some of the things they want to do for housing because they don't have the funding to do it. So we'll see how it works out. But I'll be pushing the counties real hard to make that move. I think they need to. I think they've been abused for too long.
Okay. Just looking forward now, I mean, it looks like the state overall, I mean, the revenue projections, they keep going up and up and up. And of course, some keep wanting more and more taxes to fund more and more stuff.
Unbelievable.
I mean, what's the economy look like for the future of Washington?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball anymore than anybody else, but, Washington is driven by these legacy companies. Seattle really is the driving force. And I'm not so sure that with what Seattle's doing that isn't going to change. I think Boeing is shipping jobs out. We've seen a constant decline in Boeing jobs. We know that Amazon is looking elsewhere, and they aren't doing that for a second headquarters. I think they just saw the writing on the wall. I think more and more companies will leave Seattle, and I also think there won't be any new ones coming. The other states like Idaho and Utah are doing a much better job of attracting business. They have a much better platform, and they are going to see, and they are two of the most significant growth states right now.
Right.
So I think they're going to see the benefit. I know that every time we pass a new regulation, I get a call from my senator friend in Idaho thanking me.
He says, thank you.
Yeah, he says, we'll be building another lane on I-90 soon to get your people over here. So, I think this state has the potential to be the hottest economic state in the country. And I think it is, despite itself, because of all the assets it has. But can you imagine what we could do if we turned it loose? I mean, if we really got somebody at the helm, particularly in the governor's mansion, that understood business, welcomed business, and really cranked it up, oh my goodness, I think we would lead the way by far. This would be the hottest state in the country.
Right.
But right now, we sure do everything we can to dampen it down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we met with my prior position, and it always amazed me that this state, especially the governor's office, wants to add more and more to the clean energy mandates and carbon taxes and that type of thing. We have one of the cleanest states in the country, and it's just going to drive prices up. And now you have these other regulations going. It's
the carbon tax is the biggest. You might be careful with my words here. It's just a total debacle. First of all, it will not reduce carbon, at least in the form that they've got it.
Right.
Because we are the cleanest power producing state in the world. We put out more megawatts than any other country, any other state, with less carbon, no carbon for the most part. So there's no reason to attack that particular segment. The only thing left that really does carbon, we don't have that much carbon industry, to tell you the truth, is transportation. And I'm a big fan of electric cars and electric semis. I introduced a bill this year to stimulate electric semis when they come out. I'm a little premature. Right. So the concentration should be on instead of on a stick, it should be on the carrot to move us to that more electrified transportation segment. But you do that, that's where your carbon is, and that's where it can be done quickly. The rest of this is just, it's all revenue. It's all about more revenue. They can't get their income tax they want so badly, so they're looking for a carbon tax. And it is amazing to me, in a state that has one of the highest growths in revenue, just keeps pouring in, that we have to have more.
Right.
This budget, when I started just not that many years ago, was $23.5 billion. We are now at 46, heading for $50 billion. It took over 100 years to get to 23 billion. It took about 12 years to double it.
Wow.
So yeah, so we've got some issues to deal with, and we do not need to see this budget expand any further, because the fact is we are creating a bow wave that is unsustainable in the next downturn. And will there be another downturn? You know there will be. There always has been. There's nothing that's sustainable forever. And I think we're setting ourselves up for a big fall.
You know, even with the carbon tax, and if it impacts transportation, I kind of look at that and see how that's going to impact the cost of goods coming in, the cost of lumber, which is already going up because of some Canadian trade issues, and the cost of housing is going to be impacted by that. I mean, our members, I mean, that's how they get to job sites and that type of thing.
Oh, the carbon tax permeates through everything, but this transportation ideas that we have, the incentives that we have, actually will reduce the cost of transportation. Okay. Here's a perfect example. Our bus system here is the cleanest, most efficient bus system in the United States. Now, you wouldn't believe that in Wenatchee, but the way they did that was by converting to electric and propane. The cost of fuel has dropped so much that the cost of operations is far less than it used to be.
Oh, wow.
They're able to serve more people, do more rides for less money, and at the same time reduce carbon. Now, there's the key, is combining economics with the carbon reduction. If you can get a positive on both sides, you got it made. But if you're going to do this carbon tax, like the silly initiative that's out there, all you're doing is weighting down the economy, and there's nothing on the other side to build it. So we definitely think that's a poor idea. It's going to be on the ballot, we assume,
right.
And I hope people are smart enough to know that that is a really bad idea. There are much better ways to go. I mean, even if you're totally into this carbon reduction thing, then that's fine, but this isn't the way to do it. And that's certainly up in the air. A lot of people can argue that one way or the other. I look at it from a different perspective. I just like getting off oil, because then we don't have the money going overseas.
Right.
I think that's more important. Let's use our own power. Let's be self-sustaining.
Right. I want to ask you one other thing. The Senate flipped last year back to the Democrat control. And
yeah.
How did that impact the session for you guys?
It was ugly. It's good when you have a balance of power, because both people have to be at the table. Both people have to agree. We've had pretty good budgets up until now. These guys kind of went off the rails. They really went for it. I figured they'd be a little more laid back. I figured they'd ease their way back into it. Didn't happen. They came on with every kind of thing you can imagine. Some very, very bad legislation passed. And I just hope that we can get the House back in order. I'm working very hard with HROC to do that. We have a shot to pick up a seat or two, and we're going to give it our best shot, because we need to have that balance back at Olympia. I got to tell you, it's so important. That Senate coalition was the best thing that ever happened to Washington State, and now it's gone.
Now it's gone.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on, talking to the members. Again, we got 6 counties here, and your district's one of the areas we're at. So we appreciate you coming on and talking to the members.
Glad to be here, and I look forward to seeing all of you out and about.
All right. Well, thanks again, Cary.
Yeah,
and until next time, this is Open Mic. I'm the Government Affairs Director with Central Washington Home Builders and Michael Howe. And we came live today from our office in Wenatchee.